Hi, this is Steve Hargadon, and this discussion was held in February of 2008 with Jane Krauss and Sarah McPherson, and it was on the topic of book group discussions sites using Ning, a Ning network. Sarah had created a book group, Ning network, and wasn't feeling as though it was accomplishing what she wanted. She also had limited experience with Ning, and so wasn't familiar with some of the features and how they work. So in this discussion, you'll hear us actually changing the site. We sort of verbally talk through the aspects of what features are available and how they can be moved around and used effectively to build community. Hopefully it will be useful not only to those who are interested in creating book groups on a Ning network, but also to those who are new to Ning and might just enjoy getting more familiar with the feature sets.
Steve?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
I can. Jane, are you there? Nope.
Now, it looks like, who's on? Is this a call with is Sarah on? Or Sarah's ringing, it looks like.
Looks like it. Looks as though Jane should be on, but I sure don't hear her.
Okay. Jane, I'm working and recording is working, but we can't hear you. Paul must be her tech support guy.
Yes, who just woke up, yes.
How old is her tech support guy?
Oh, he's old enough. That's her husband.
Oh, I thought it was her son.
No, that's the guy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, Jane, there you are.
Oh my gosh, it's working.
Oh, what happened?
Just my sweetheart tech support guy. We haven't seen each other for 8 days, so he's feeling particularly helpful, I think. It says I'm ringing Sarah. I'm going to hang up and try her again. Sarah, we're all on, but you don't seem to be picking up.
She's using Skype, I take it.
Yeah. We could call her, I guess. Let me try adding her, okay?
She shows being online.
Yeah. So, Steve, do you want to call her instead of me?
I can try and add her here. Yeah, let's try that.
Okay.
Invite to conference doesn't... Oh, hang on.
Let me hang up with her. There, I hung up with her.
Okay, so...
Under more? Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is... how do I add her to this conference? I think because I didn't initiate this conference, I'm not getting an option to add her.
Okay, let me see if I can add her. Add to conference.
Oh, she's not hearing a ring, she says.
Hello? Hey!
Sarah.
Sarah? Hello, Sarah, can you hear us?
Hello?
Whoa, hello.
Oh, it helps to have my attachments plugged into the right ports.
Have a little thing.
Yeah.
That actually makes a ton of sense now.
Clever with the icons, putting them in the same color, then you can't see them. Okay. Hello.
Wow.
I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Sarah, this is Steve Hargadon. He's Steve, I'm not sure what your title is, but he's definitely the big-time host of Classroom 2.0, and he works with Ning with educators.
Okay.
And Susie Boss just is the co-author with me. We were batting this around yesterday, and we're just so curious about the processes of this kind of shared learning that we wanted to mostly lurk is how we got involved, but then we go straight into problem-solving mode too. So, Sarah, we spent a little time looking at the site, and Steve had what sounded like some good advice for getting in gear.
Okay.
So, Sarah, we're actually recording the call.
Okay.
And one of the things we thought was, one of the things I do for Ning is I run a site called education.ning.com, which is a Ning social network obviously free for educators to discuss the use of Ning in education. And I think it might be kind of fun to have this discussion actually take place to some degree there.
Okay.
One of which is because I can justify to Ning the value that I'm bringing to the time. And the other is because there are a lot of educators there who have a lot of experience. And you may actually find that they're going to have ideas that I wouldn't have thought of, or other sort of creative ways to approach what's going on. So let's get to the site, and remind me of the address for the site.
My site?
Yeah, your book.
Yeah,
your
SIGTE 2008.
SIGTE2008.ning.com.
Right.
And I actually signed up this morning, and I can remove myself. Oh, Jane, looks like you signed up too.
Mm-hmm. I just decided to, but I might bow out.
I know Jane's worried about looking like she's
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
too much of a presence there, but
right.
So
I don't know that that's going to be a problem at all, but whatever she's comfortable with.
So I had some sort of immediate reactions to the site.
Yeah.
And I was interested in that because Ning normally feels to me so inviting, but for some reason when I looked at the site, I didn't feel invited. And I think the first thing that occurred to me was that there isn't any kind of a text box at the start, either on the left or in the middle, that says welcome and this is what we're doing and why.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure if...
and I did that this is what I don't get about Ning, because I did that at the beginning, the purpose of this and everything, but I don't know where it went. I don't know how to make it be, stay in a certain place.
So have you played around in the Manage tab at all?
Some, but as I was explaining to Jane yesterday, what I say I want featured is featured, but then it doesn't come up where I expect it to come up. So, yeah. So walk me through it.
Well, I can't really do that, unfortunately. I can do it with a different site because I'm not an administrator on the site. If you go to, let's do this, and we can change this pretty quickly after we're done. But if you go to the Manage tab, you should see a link to members. Do you see the Manage tab? Have I lost you, Sarah?
Uh-oh.
Oh, I don't. She doesn't look like she's in the call.
Uh-oh.
Let me add her. No, I don't want this to be a separate call, though. Let's see.
Says she's busy, it looks like.
Oh, well, Oh. Lost connection, call me again. Okay, now, Steve, I'm in the conference call list, and I should be able to add to conference right here.
I'm gonna hang up the call with this contact. That's good. My coughing is gonna get recorded. Yeah, because you started the conference.
There we go. It should be connecting. Kind of a funny little two-stepper you do. Failed user not online.
She's probably trying to... Well, she said she lost connection. Call me again.
Yeah.
Sarah, are you there?
Now it says it's ringing. Now she's back.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My internet connection
dropped
for a second. Yeah.
So, Sarah, I was going to suggest that you go to the Manage tab.
Okay. Thank
you.
Network. Sorry.
That's okay. And look for the link to members, because you have the ability to kind of administer the members from that Manage tab.
Okay. It's taking me a minute to get back there. I don't know what's going on.
So I'm going to talk just for the benefit of the recording while we're waiting for you. So essentially what you've done is you've created a site around a book discussion. That happens to be Jane and Susie's book, but you've created a community for the purpose of discussing a particular book.
Mm-hmm.
And my sense is that you're not feeling like it's gelling the way you would like it to, and we're kind of brainstorming ways in which we might help you to figure that out.
Okay.
So are you seeing that Manage tab?
Got the Manage tab. I'm getting a slow response here, but I don't know why.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest that you go into the members area and actually promote me to an administrator, and then I can kind of walk through some of these things with you, actually looking at them as you're looking at them, and we can record kind of what we're doing.
Right. Okay. Okay, so I find your name.
There should be a checkbox to the left of me.
Yeah.
And then there should be an option up at the top that says promote to administrator or something like that.
What kind of order are these in?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
Because you just joined, but you're not near the top, and they're not alphabetical order either. Yeah, wait. Oh, you know what? Maybe it's... It's reverse.
Am I promoted?
Not yet. I haven't found you yet, but it's in reverse order from the earliest to the latest, That would be a nice thing for the most recent ones to be at the top. Okay, so there you are. And I click on you, and then what do I do?
You want to promote me to an administrator.
Promote you. Okay. Now go to the...
And I can't remember exactly what the wording is, but it should be toward the top of the page. There should be a button that says...
Yeah. Are you now promoted?
Okay, so I'm going to refresh my page, and I should get the Manage button now. I'm signing in again. Now, once we're done here, you can demote me.
Okay.
Excuse me. Okay, so I'm looking at the site, and I now see the Manage button. So I'm going to click on Manage. And then, as I recall, once I'm in Manage, I'm going to look for the Features link. And
should I do this with you?
Yeah, so you should click on the Features setting, customize your social network by adding new features or removing existing ones. And this is where you really tell Ning which features you're going to be using, and a byproduct of that is you actually set them on the front page, those features, in the order in which you'd like to have them show up. So if you're looking at this, and Jane and Susie, you're probably not seeing this, but it's familiar from any Ning network. You can add features to your network, and it actually shows you a layout of your front page. The features are on the left-hand side that haven't been added or that can be added more than once. And then you see in the layout the features that are there. And what's interesting is there is actually a description box that shows above the members.
See that.
And
I'll put a welcome
box,
message there and see if it works.
That's one way. There is one way to put a welcome message there. What's interesting about that description box is that's not a highly customizable text box. It is in fact just going to reflect, if you go into your network, if we go back to the main Manage page, where you put in general information about your network, it just reflects that. And I've got to find exactly where that is, but it's I may not actually have that because I'm not the top administrator. But there is a place where you actually tell it what the name of the network is.
Right.
And then there's a field for description, and that description is the one that would show up in that description box. So I don't often use that because I don't feel like it gives me enough room for creativity. So I'm going to do some things here for you that we can fix later. But because I'm more familiar, I'm just going to go ahead and do them. And I'm going to drag that description box off the main site into this. There's an area to the left that says drag here to remove feature. And don't do this with me because I think it will confuse it. But I'm actually going to put a text box. I'm dragging a text box over, and I'm going to put it on top of the forum section in the middle. Because that gives you a fair amount of room where you can actually say, this week we're doing this, welcome, blah, 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 and you can actually add, additional verbiage that may be specific to a moment in time, or put a picture in, or do other things. And some of your customization of your front page takes place here on the features link, and some of it actually takes place when the administrator goes to the front page, and you can make some changes there. So I'll give you an example. The members box that you have there, on this page you can show whether it appears in the left column or the middle column. It can even appear on the bottom right column. But if you wanted to change the size of the icons or how many members show up, you actually do that by going to the front page and making those changes using the edit button. So this is more of sort of a general layout, and then sort of the fine tuning can take place by the administrator actually going to the front page. So you've got members, videos, photos, music. You do have a text box down below.
Yeah, I do. I don't know what for.
And I'm just going to pull that out because you probably don't need it right now. Or we could have just moved it instead of my putting a different one on. I'm assuming that when you pull a text box off of the main page or the layout, you probably lose whatever text was in there and you couldn't get it back. So you have to be a little careful there. Okay, and see that activity box? That's kind of an interesting one because that kind of shows who's been doing what on the network. And I actually don't like it in the middle column. I either put it on the left or on the right because only certain people are going to really want to look at that. So just for the purpose of discussion now, I'm going to move it over to the bottom right column. And you can move it later, but we'll be able to see what's taken place here. And are you using groups?
I set up one,
do you know?
But I think I want to use groups, but I didn't quite know how they were going to work, so I didn't do much with it yet.
So one option that I thought of as we were looking at the site was that you could actually use groups and set up a group for each chapter.
Well,
meaning that people could actually discuss different chapters in the groups.
No,
were you thinking along those lines at all?
More like with the like researchers or social studies teachers or high school teachers, that kind of thing, that would be more by interest level, because I really don't want the discussion too partitioned. I wanted that to be, I have those roles like facilitator and word wizard and explorer and those kinds of things as ways to talk about the chapters. So I thought by the forums that I could organize the chapter discussions with those perspectives, but groups would be interest groups that want to get together and talk about specifically different. I mean, I'm just thinking that's what I was saying. That's what I was thinking. I don't. If that's not the way it would work, I don't know.
How many members do you expect
right
to
now
have
there's
in total?
about 100 members, and I think we've got like 15 or so who are participating. I don't know how to check that either, but And some of them are, I knew they would be lurkers, and some of them, like Jane,
Yes.
and then Arlene, and and Craig Cunningham, and some people like that. But there are others who are saying they don't have the book yet, and others are saying I don't understand what we're doing. And so, I would think, we might get 50 or 60 by the, really participating.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a small enough group that I actually think that the groups function may just confuse things. Meaning, if you don't have a good specific purpose for it at this point in time, the moment you place it on your network, people can create groups, and those group dialogues don't actually transfer well into the main dialogue. And so it can be hard to see discussions that are taking place. And unless you feel as though there's a really compelling reason to have groups right now, I might almost suggest that you take it off.
Yeah, I kind of had an idea that that's the way it would
reason.
work, and then it would, they would be off, not in the mainstream of things. So that's why I didn't go ahead and do more with it. So you think just take it off for now?
Well, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Because it looks like you've only got one group set up and just the researcher, and you can put it back. But if with some humility we're looking at this from the perspective of somebody who's built several Ning sites and is thinking about what I would do, I would take it off. And so, because I think I think at this point what you're trying to do is to figure out how to get people actually participating and how it's going to work, and anything that would confuse that. Probably at this point you want to say, until we really understand how we're going to do that, let's not bring it into the mix because it's only going to make it harder. So I've taken that off.
Why can't I see anything?
And,
just by refreshing, I would think I could see the result of what you've done, but I'm not. Oh, you haven't.
Because I haven't hit the Save Features button yet.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just playing around. And in fact, I've never even tried this where two people were trying to manage a site at the same time. I mean, I don't know what would happen.
I'm not managing anything. But I do have it open, and of course I'm not remote in, so I can't see anything. But I thought with refresh I could see what you're doing. But you're right. I would probably have to see it after you save it.
I've hit Save Features now, so let's all go back to the main page. Oh, I'm just so sick about this. Remember when there was that hang up? Oh, it's still recording. It says it's still recording. Let's hope it is. Okay, so I'm now back at the main site, and Jane, you and Susie aren't going to see this, but what Sarah and I are seeing is I added 2 text boxes, and so, Sarah, if you're looking at that main page now, you should see 2 boxes where you can place information that don't show up because they're actually, in fact, blank to anybody else, but they're showing up to us. Right. So I want you to click the Edit button on the one on the left and just do like a welcome message. Put welcome in the title box and then just type some text in like, hello and welcome to the book discussion group. And I'm going to edit the one in the middle. And I'm going to call it This Week. Okay. And then when you're done, you click that Save button.
Okay.
Okay, now let's all refresh our page.
Good.
So are you seeing new information there?
This is very helpful.
Okay. Now this is interesting because it's really a very small change, and we just put in sort of placeholder information. But I already feel as though the site has changed in its initial
You know
draw.
what threw me off about that? When I set this up, that the other placeholder information to put a gadget in here or whatever, so I didn't want to use that, so I deleted it. I didn't realize you could use the tech,
Oh, interesting.
Anyway, now I learned.
You can put as many text boxes as you want on. Some of those features you can only put in once, like the forum. You can only put that in one place. But you can put multiple text boxes on your front page. And the other interesting thing is you can actually put HTML code in there. So you can embed a Yahoo or Google video. You can, anything that you can do with sort of simple HTML embedding you can do. You can put a picture in. So there's a fair amount of flexibility for those HTML text boxes, because right now I think they really help the site just by providing a place where you can say, welcome, and here's what we're doing. And at the same time, you can actually spice it up a little.
You've gotten rid of the Google ads also? Do you want to just tell us how you did that? Or? Oh.
I did not get rid of the Google ads.
Yeah.
But I'm interested that they're not showing up.
It must have to do with the Steve Hargadon mojo, that they just scatter when you appear.
That would be the magic glass.
Yes.
I don't know why they're not there. Now, you can pay the fee to not have the ads there, or you can just let them be there if you want to keep getting the site for free. But it is interesting that they're not showing up currently. Okay, so there were a couple of other things that occurred to me that might be worth kind of covering and talking about. I'm going to go back to that Manage tab. And if you want to change colors or anything like that, you can do so under Appearance. But on that same tab, you're going to see a section called Promote Your Network. And on the left-hand side is Broadcast Message. Now, when you click on that, it gives you basically a little bit of an email box that comes up. And you can immediately send an email message to everybody on the network. Now, the nice thing about that is that you can use that to generate interest and participation.
Hold on just a second.
Like you could say...
That's not under Appearance, though. Right.
No, I'm sorry.
Right.
It's back in the main Manage tab.
Okay,
section.
and I wondered, because I broadcast once, but I don't know what happened. So down at the bottom where
it actually will send to everybody.
Doesn't it send a message to everybody who's joined? Okay, that's what I thought.
It does. Now, not everybody who's joined will have left an email message or will have left an email address that's working. Meaning you don't have to actually put in a working email address to sign up. At the same time, people in their own settings can say they don't want to receive email. But a good percentage of the people in the network will actually get an email message from you when you broadcast. So you can send a message out to everybody. And I think you want to be careful about how often you do it. But I think it's one really good way potentially to generate some interest. Like you could say, Jane and Susie are going to respond this week to questions about Chapter 3. And won't this be fun? And blah, 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 blah. Please don't forget to come visit us this week. Or, we're going to do, one of the nice things that you can do with a social community like this is you can actually create other events. So you can say, hey, we're going to do a live talkcast at 6 p.m. for anybody who's available on the things that we've been talking about the book. So you extend the boundaries beyond the Ning network, but you use the network to help you do that and to continue to create the sense of community or dialogue or whatever you're looking at. And I kind of teased Jane a little earlier by saying I was going to do some fun things with Classroom 2.0 this week. I've been looking at TalkShoe and Illuminate. And in addition to doing some little demos of different Web 2.0 software and having teachers kind of do, Jane, an online version of our lightning round. I'm also thinking of setting up kind of a regular time when people can get on and actually talk to each other using TalkShoe, which is sort of a call-in conferencing program. And with the idea that out of, some number of members in a network, there may be some percentage who would really like to just get on and talk, to actually make voice contact and hold a part of the discussion that way. So the other thing that occurred to me was that Ning is a Ning network, and Ning calls themselves a social networking site. And one of the downsides to the phrase social networking is that we all associate that with Facebook and MySpace. But it is a term that's used to describe what Ning does. But I really think that Ning goes well beyond what we think of when we think of Facebook and MySpace, because it allows you to build your own network, and what that does is really allows you to build a community. So I really think of Ning as a way of building a collaborative community, and it is a tool. It's got specific features and functionality, and I think it's very inviting, and I think people feel comfortable coming in a way that they may not in other kinds of technology. But one of the things I really love about this kind of technology is that it does allow you to participate in discussions without regard for time. Meaning there are discussions that took place on Classroom 2.0 months ago that someone will find and actually kind of restart. They'll bring it back to present, because if I go into the forum settings and I set on that front page under Edit, you've got your forum settings to show the latest replies. That means that if somebody replies to a topic thread that's 4 months old, the moment that they save that reply, it now becomes the first thread to show up. And I really love that because it allows you to have a dialogue outside of time constraint. Now, that can be frustrating if you're trying to do things sort of in an orderly and methodical manner. And you could change that forum to be newest discussions, meaning, you could even as an administrator say, I'm the only one who's allowed to start a discussion, and I'm going to make it always... Right. And I'm going to make it always be the newest discussion, or you can even select featured, and then you can go select certain discussions that you want to show up on the front page. But to me, I really love this latest replies function because it allows people to talk about things when they're ready. Meaning, if Jane and Susie and you and I are in a conversation, I may be really interested in a particular topic at a point in time, and I can talk about that. And you may not get interest in that for weeks, but at the moment you have interest in that, you can go in and actually be a part of that discussion. It kind of it resurfaces. And so and this is unsolicited advice, and you get what you pay for, so it may be worth nothing to you. But one of the things that occurred to me about a book discussion group is that I rarely read a book in sequential order, chapter order. I think it's based on the fact that I usually have 20 or 30 books scattered around the house that I'm interested in that are in piles. And, it's rare that I actually sit down and read a book from front to back. And as I was thinking about, a book discussion group, I thought, wow, Ning is great for that because the moment I'm interested in chapter 7, and I'm going to dive into that and read it, and I can actually go be a part of a discussion on that without having have been a part of a discussion on chapter 2, which maybe I haven't gotten to yet, or which maybe I'll never get to because it's not of interest to me. So I wondered how you might leverage that, which is, in a traditional book discussion, it really is important that people kind of stay on the same page, because if you say you were meeting physically, it would be very hard to break into groups based on exactly where different people were in a book. But in the Ning environment, it would give you some flexibility to potentially not put that same requirement on.
Yeah.
And you could even do something thematically, or, you could, and again, so that was just a thought that occurred to me.
I'm kind of on the same,
and one of the
although, there's a couple of things that I have to be careful about. One is that, somebody said to me, well, I'd like to join, but I haven't read the book yet. And it's like you don't have to have read the book. You have to join, you know. And
I would definitely put that in your introductory text box. That's the kind of thing. That's exactly if you know that that's one of the first things people are going to think about. I would definitely say, welcome. You don't have to have read the book or be reading it to join. You know, please come in, and maybe it'll excite you to read the book.
I'm looking on the just on the larger Ning page and searching all social networks for book groups, and it looks like some of them have features that might be worth considering for this group. So it might be a way to.
Jane, that was brilliant.
There's sure a lot of them. There's 288 that are tagged book group.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, if you could take an hour, if you've got an hour to look through and see what other people are doing, my guess is you'll actually pick up on some things that we would not even have thought of.
Yeah. And Steve, are there other suggestions for Ning communities that come together for a discrete chunk of time? Like this is a couple months calendar for this book discussion group, and then it will kind of end. You know, it'll come to a natural conclusion. Any features that come to mind that help when it's oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, you know, the discussion on the book, but, you know, it's not that the Ning has to be over and this group has to say, okay, we're done now, you know.
True,
that's one of the things that to continue to fostering the community. Maybe there's projects they want to do together now. Maybe there's other books, you know.
Okay.
So
is this site going to be specific just to Jane and Susie's book?
See, that's the other point. It started that way, and we just are starting. It doesn't have to specifically.
Because
can't we link another name to it?
Okay.
Well, my head is spinning a little. I love this feeling because I'm thinking if you tagged the forum discussions about the Reinventing Project-Based Learning with a specific tag, you could actually, in the top text box, you could actually list over the course of time different books that you were studying, and those links could pull up the discussions that were tagged Reinventing Project-Based Learning. And you could actually move on to another book, and you could still have people come in and be a part of the discussion about older books in a way that you could never do with a physical book group.
Yeah.
That is really fun.
And
well, so Sarah, can I recommend that you join the education.ning.com site? Because I think that would be a good place for you to kind of ask some questions and get, as Jane has searched through and found other book discussion sites, there's a neat community of people there who are using Ning for educational purposes, and it would be a great place for you if you came up against a hurdle or you wanted to bounce an idea off people. They can be kind of your advisory panel.
So I can find it.
You know,
So
it's http education.ning.com.
All right, I will join that.
And then, so that was a really interesting discussion with Jane and Susie and Sarah. For some reason, at the point at which the recording ends, my recording software just stopped. I'm not quite sure why. We did talk for another 10 or 15 minutes, although the bulk of what was discussed in the first part. As I recall, we looked a little bit at the kinds of information that can be available in the latest activity section and talked about how you would customize that. And again, you can from the front page, clicking as a manager, clicking or network administrator, clicking on the edit button allows you to indicate how many different activities you want to list, and then there's actually a link that lets you go in and specify which activities. And you can also add your own custom messages there, or there's a set of 10 or 15 sort of standardized messages based on things that have taken place, like the number of new members in the last week.
I think that one discussion that didn't get recorded that I was really anxious to make sure I recalled and focused on a little was the degree to which Ning, for me, has been an incredibly unique platform in that while there is a fair amount of ability to customize, in fact, in some ways a really significant customization capability, at no point in time as a Ning network administrator have I ever felt like I'm really dealing with technical problems. And I think that's rare and maybe it's a part of the sort of the magic of Ning, which is I can spend almost 100% of my time focusing on how to build community, thinking about the community and the discussions, and I don't ever have to think about why people are getting an error on login or why people are seeing errors or script errors on their screens. Ning has done a really, really good job of allowing the network administrator to not actually have to be a technical administrator. Now, there may be some compromises that have been made in order to keep that way. I mean, maybe some lack of customization, but from my standpoint, there's more customization than I'm capable or have the time to do, and I really feel freed up just to work on the community building. So kudos to Ning for that. I really enjoyed this discussion. I really like talking about the idea of using Ning Network for a book discussion group and how you potentially could tweak that, and came to the conclusion that that there are, I for one don't read a book sequentially, and so the Ning Network gives you the opportunity to actually have discussions take place outside of the normal time references that you'd have if you had a physical book discussion. That in a physical book discussion you're typically going to go through chronologically just in order to facilitate the group dynamics. Whereas in a Ning network or collaborative community building network, you have the ability to actually have different discussions going on at the same time and discussions that don't have to take place in the same time frame for the individuals who are involved. And something can come out much later. A discussion can get resurrected very easily, and individuals can come months later and still find things of interest and then kind of reignite that particular discussion. And an interesting set of questions or challenges that Sarah's going to have to address would be, is this site just for a single book, or does she expand it to be a site for multiple books to be discussed? And one way to do that would be to tag the existing discussions with the specific book and then create a link to those discussions on the front page. You could do it by having different discussions for different books in different groups. I think she was sort of leaning toward actually creating a separate Ning network for each book discussion, but I might argue for trying to find a way to keep all of those discussions actually in the same network, but have tagging or groups to segregate them so that you could really come in and enjoy the richness of being involved in part of a discussion on any number of different books that have been discussed without feeling bound time-wise to the one that's particularly being paid attention to. So I think it's a great example of a use of Ning. I continue to be somewhat enthralled by this idea that there are all kinds of communities that already exist that have existed without the benefit of this kind of easy aggregating of individuals that would really benefit from networks like this. Magazines. I'm obviously working on conferences because I think that's a really great place as well, but I think of all of the magazines that have built, constituencies or followers, over the years who are interested in a particular topic. And, what a great opportunity to extend that networking that takes place, and the community building. Sometimes I can't go to sleep at night thinking of all the possibilities. Anyway, fun discussion for me, and I hope that if there were things that were important in the last 15 minutes that I've captured them here.